So we are finally live. Well, not live. We're recording. Yay! This is Scott and Mike of the Black Eel Podcast. Today we have a full lineup to talk about. We have a lot to talk about in general. We have so much to go over. Let me be quick. Star Wars, we are talking about The Mandalorian, the season finale. There is a lot to unpack there. That's going to take up that whole section, I promise you.
Last two
Next,
episodes.
yeah, I consider it anyway. It's still the season finale. So then we move on to the DC, which Mike has made me watch the Flashpoint Paradox movie and read the Flashpoint comics.
Okay.
Then a comic series. It was multiple issues. Bear with me. Then we move on to Marvel. And I came up with a little test for the two of us that was a lot harder than I expected. Us picking a Marvel character that we would like to be a part of, basically. But the key is we have to live through all of their negativity as well as their positives. So that changed a lot of our minds very quickly. We will also be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy 3. We're going to be talking about Secret Invasion, and we're going to be talking about the Marvels. All three will be talked about, and then, as always, we end the podcast with the same thing we always do: is a character spotlight, one from Marvel and one from DC, of characters that many people don't know about. I mean, I know for at least the most part, they're characters that are not super well known in either of our genres.
I know in my character spotlight, you should know my character.
Is it
When
is
I
it
don't know. Oh,
is it a different variant?
no.
Oh, okay. Well, we will wait and see to find out what that is. But for now, let's move right on to Star Wars. All right, so, um, all right, how do I put this? I don't remember the second to last episode of The Mandalorian. I was prepared for the season finale, and everything blends together, so bear with me. Wait, the second to last episode, was that? No, that wasn't.
The second to last episode was when they returned to Mandalore. They got their forces together.
Yes. Yes. Okay. 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 All right. I consider that one episode. I literally was like, they get onto in my mind. I was like, the season finale is them going to Mandalore. All that stuff happens, and then the big fight
It
happens.
flows together. It
It
does
does.
flow together.
All right. So I do actually know what happens, which is perfect. All right. So big things to talk about before we get into the episodes. Did you think that there was a traitor amongst the Mandalorians?
I believe there was. I had 100% thought. I thought it was either the armorer because the way she was acting throughout the entire season, it was kind of sketchy. Um, and I also thought it was either the armorer or I thought it was what's his name, Axe Wolf.
Oh, the one that was fighting the machine gun guy, the one that took
Yes,
over, the
yes,
one that took
yes,
over as leader. Yeah.
yes.
It's funny. So I saw it online. So I was thinking it was the armorer as well, and there was a lot of speculation because of when we see Moff Gideon, he's got horns, and so does she, and the helmets matched very closely. That being said, there was a lot of talk. I didn't hear about him, the your guy, but I did hear a lot about the jetpack guy. But I was like, especially well, hear me out. This was said before that episode aired,
Which jetpack guy?
FYI. I'm sorry, the machine gun guy,
Oh,
the
okay.
one that the one that got killed by the three
Yep.
guards. But I never thought they were. I was thinking it was the armorer myself, mostly due to the fact the way she was acting, and she was just like
So,
way too like upfront, being like, "I'm gonna join."
so when it got to episode 7, which is we're kind of jumping the gun with it, but when it got to episode 7, I was like, by the end of the episode, because she had when they landed and they had gone through Mandalore and some of their uh, some of their crew got injured and had to be taken back to the ship. I was and she was like, "Oh, I volunteered to bring him back." I was like, "Okay, she's leaving because she's conveniently leaving as they are going to get ambushed, as in the base. So I saw that as, oh, she's totally. And then when she's getting up to the ship and she clears the surface, she calls to the Mandalorian ship, that, okay, refugees are coming, we need aid. I was like, okay, she's sending a signal to the Mandalorian ship, but she's also sending a signal to Gideon saying they're on their way, basically. Um, that was what was going through my head. I know a lot of things online were saying that she was part of Death Watch. You know, clearly with the way everyone was talking, she was definitely part of Death Watch. The helmet with the horns, that's Death Watch. Um,
Well, that
the
doesn't.
way
So I was gonna say too. One of the big things, and maybe it was clear in the episode, but when they were talking about Death Watch and everything else, I believe it was, no, it was the very beginning of episode 7, um, where they were talking about the Death Watch. Death Watch doesn't exist anymore. It was
yeah,
fractured, and in my mind, that makes me. I think she still could have been part of Death Watch. I don't
hmm
think she still wasn't. I just think she made it very clear that they no longer exist.
yep.
Um,
Which the other thing was that, like, Gideon was he's actually, so like the Death Watch was, Gideon was reforming Death Watch, and Death Watch was with the Empire.
which makes
So that
sense.
was one of the theories. With the way the episode was going, I was like, okay, I totally see that,
Mm.
but obviously wasn't the case. And I know one of the issues that a lot of people had with the episode was that it was called Spies. The title of the episode was Spies. There was only one spy, and it was the Empire chick who was in rehabilitation, that was the spy.
Mm.
Um, I learned, then I didn't realize it either. Apparently, the spies is actually a religious term, where I believe it was in Judaism. Um, Spies refers to a group of people that is going to land to investigate. So
Oh,
the Mandalorians were the spies going to Mandalore to investigate if the land was habitable, if they could, it going to explore. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, exactly. It made so much sense now. I'm like,
but
now,
that makes it so much better because
exactly.
they named it Spies for that reason to make everyone
hmm
think that there's a spy among them. It's an enemy, and in actuality, it, it its meaning is still the same. But they were getting to the point of just the fact of being like literally just being of what they were doing. They were being
Yep.
called of what they were doing. That's actually incredible. Um, I also was surprised to find that there were Mandalorians left alive on the planet.
That I was surprised by. Yep. As soon as I
Um,
saw them, I was like, oh,
I honestly thought they were all going to be dead. Um, the fact that they weren't was a shock to me. But yeah, so I mean, they get to the planet. There's a bunch of stuff that goes on. They find they find the remaining. Well, meaning like there wasn't really much going on at that particular moment. They were just scanning the area, and that's when they find
they
the.
were exploring the planet. They were talking to the other Mandalorians about what they did to survive in why when everyone else left the planet. Um,
Correct. But what I was also going to say too is that then we have the rest of the night owls. Night owls? No,
yes. Yeah.
is that what they were called? I know they were owls. I
Yes.
couldn't remember um, the night owls. The remaining, I would imagine, came out and found Bo-Katan, which was a great little thing for a moment. And they talk about everything that was happening, and pretty much we find out exactly what happened with how Moff Gideon possessed the dark saber.
hmm
Moff Gideon basically tricked Bo-Katan into giving him the lightsaber, but also in the sense of like, how do I put it? Like she did it to try to protect her people, and he was like, ha ha ha, ha, I got the dark saber now, boom, and that was pretty much exactly what happened. He just blew up the place anyway. He was like, nope, we're done.
Yep.
um, which I think makes Moff Gideon even more of an like. I don't like saying it this way, but it's like he is a much better like leader of the Imperial Army. I guess is the best way to put it. Because is he considered a general? I don't know if we actually know his title.
Um, so
Is Moff
Moff,
is Moff
Moff
a
is a
title?
title. Moff
Okay.
is a title. So Moff, usually when we've seen Moffs in other Star Wars uh, fiction, I guess, uh, it they're kind of like governors. They're civilians, civilian leadership, and but obviously the Empire is, in remnants, so it's not. They don't really, there's nothing really to rule. It's just their little circles or whatever.
So could
But
you
like,
could I was going to say could we argue that they would be then uh, considered more like admirals because they no longer have a planet in their
yeah.
control? They have more of an armada potentially.
I mean, the thing about the Empire is they still have their hierarchy because they still think they're in control. They think the New Republic isn't a New Republic. They still call them rebels. Um, so in their head, they're like, this isn't real. We're still in control. So
Hmm.
in their head, they still have all this hierarchy and all this other stuff. It really depends on, like, Moff is just it's like a formal title. They're
Okay.
very powerful in the Empire. They're more powerful than a lot of military people. I wouldn't say like Moffs. Depending on the Moff, they could be more powerful than admirals.
Okay.
Like, um, like just for example, Moff Tarkin. He's Grand Moff Tarkin. He's also called Governor Tarkin. But Grand Moff Tarkin is basically Palpatine's second in command.
Yes.
He's he's higher than Vader. He's higher than Thrawn, and those two are also
Very
uh,
high up.
Palpatine. They're Palpatine's second in command as well. But when it comes to power, Grand Moff Tarkin still has, like, he can command Vader and Thrawn.
Yeah.
Um, so
Speaking, I was going to say, speaking of Thrawn, we got a little hint of him um, with the. I'm assuming they were all Moffs. Am I correct? Or are we unclear on that?
no, they were all different rankings.
Okay, but they were
One
all
of them,
leaders of the Empire in some sort of fashion.
yes, there are some military minds, scientists. They were just the remnants of the Empire that are like trying to hold on to control.
I was going to say scattered throughout the galaxy, as they've said.
Yep.
That scene, let me tell you, really, really hit me in the emotions because there was a lot going on with that. Mostly due to the fact of, like, first off, we see that they're all still a unit to a certain degree, meaning like they
Hmm.
still meet, which is not something I don't know if I was expecting it. I felt like when the Empire crumbled, it completely shattered, and then they started to regroup. But this made it seem more of like they never really actually completely shattered. It was more of like they still kind of existed, and we're gonna build from that little bit of speck we have left. Um, and I think the big thing for me too was the fact of like all of them fear the Mandalorians,
Hmm.
specifically taking over Mandalore again. And we have heavily mentioned Grand Admiral Thrawn, who is supposedly making a comeback, and I put that in quotations because we do know he's coming back. But in this particular scene, it's like they've been waiting for like what they felt was like decades. And Moff Gideon's like, yeah, we've waited long enough. Maybe we need new leadership instead of waiting for
Yep.
some, pipe dream of something happening. And that was just, and the back and forth between all of them was just priceless. I mean, we know that the Empire, like the Empire, really wasn't a team. As awful as it
No.
sounds,
Yep.
they were just out for themselves, and it's clear as day with these people, the way they talk and everything else. Um, and I just thought that was incredible, and the fact that they were all well, the two guys who had the most resources were like totally against helping Moff Gideon, and then they hear about the Mandalorians. They're like, "What do you need? Like,
Yep.
we'll dish it out.
Yep.
Like, you name it, you got it." And I think that's what threw me off. And also, the fact that they're just. I also didn't know where they were. That's also a key thing in that too. Like where the base was, I would have never
Yeah,
guessed that's where that was
yeah,
originally.
no,
I mean, obviously it
definitely.
makes sense now, but I mean, like, spoiler alert, it's Mandalore. Um, so we get to the so my question is when the ship. So I know we've been bouncing around, and I do apologize, but there was a lot to uncover, and for once, Mike and I didn't talk about this beforehand, which is
Yeah,
shocking to both of us.
it's
When
very
the night,
difficult.
I know it's like never happened. When the Night Owl's ship got knocked over, was that a mythosaur?
No,
Okay,
no.
I was unclear because I watched it twice. I couldn't remember seeing the face of it, so it was like big enough that I could believe it, but I was like it didn't look right, so I wasn't 100% sure. So I'm glad it wasn't, but it was some sort of creature that knocked him off.
Hmm.
And then all right,
I
what
think
did
they
you
said
think?
they think they called it a sand dragon.
Did they? Oh, I
I think so.
again, out of all the action that was happening, that was the detail like that didn't matter in my head.
Mm.
To be honest with you, because soon after that, what happened? Stormtroopers, but not just any stormtrooper. Stormtroopers 2.0 or 7.0. I don't know what number we're on, but they were covered in Beskar armor. Yeah, I skipped a whole bunch of numbers. I don't care. Um, they had Beskar armor, which I thought was incredible because they were a huge tank, more so than they've ever been, but they still can't hit their target. Like
Well,
for
no.
something,
They were hitting their targets. It's just the Mandalorian armor was still stronger than the Stormtrooper armor.
you get my point I'm making though. The joke I'm
Yes,
making is that they still suck. Um,
I know.
heavy fight scene, by the way. We got to see some fighting skill from Sasha Banks, the greatest Mandalorian of all time.
She's
Bo-Katan,
not Sasha Banks anymore.
you know who I'm talking about though.
I know who you're talking about.
Anyway, so we see all that, and then so they chase the stormtroopers because the stormtroopers are running away because they're scared, and it turns out to be a trap all along. And out of all the people, he grabs Din Djarin. No, I said it right, Din
You
Djarin.
said it right. We did this
I
last
questioned
episode.
it. I know. I'm so used to saying it wrong that I was like, that doesn't sound right. Um, out of all the people to capture, though, Din Djarin was the one that they capture, and I'm assuming, and I know what happens when you assume. I assume that they were going to take him just for the fact of hoping to get the Grogu. And granted, it was never clear, but that would be my guess. Because
I
remember, they
really
still
don't
want
know.
to clone. They still want to
No,
clone.
I know. I honestly never. I'll be honest. I didn't think of it. I just thought it was as when they closed the door. Because they closed the blast doors. He just happened to be on the other side, and he was the last one standing.
No, I know, but what I'm getting at is they waited until he was out. You know what I'm saying? Like, uh, that's just my interpretation of it. That's how I took it because I was like, and that's because of what we see in the next episode, in the fact of like he's really trying to infuse the Force into clones.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Din Djarin, unfortunately, does not win. There were too many, I will say that. And then they stripped him of his weapons, which I thought was a bit of a dick move, personally. And then we see not like the best suit in all of Star Wars. I am sorry. You can't tell me that that is not an awesome suit.
Gideon's.
Yes.
Oh, I love that suit. That was a
That
great suit.
suit was perfect. I mean, he comes in. I mean, he is perfect. And then obviously the Mandalorians do not surrender, and we see they take Din Djarin away as a captor. Um,
Captive.
Captive, same thing. It's not, but it's okay.
No, it's
Um,
not.
so what happens is, um, you know, Bo-Katan makes a circle with her dark saber and gets everyone to escape except for one particular person. Um, and it is I can't even think of his name. It's gonna bother the hell out of me because he's been around since season one. Um,
Has Vizsla.
Paz Vizsla, thank you.
Okay.
And he comes in with with his machine gun and he just shoots and he's taking out stormtroopers like it's his job. And then his machine gun basically overheats to the point where it literally looks like it's melting. Throws
The
it
first
as a
time,
what is it?
first time we saw a weapon overheat in Star Wars.
Yeah, even though we've always seen it in the video games, we've never actually seen a gun overheat. And
Yep.
you're absolutely right. And so he throws it and then starts taking them out like just like guerrilla tactics on this, like just taking them out one at a time, just breaking them. And then we have the guard. The three guards come out and they take him out, and it's kind of sad. I'm not gonna lie. I
Oh,
don't
it
know
was
about you.
heartbreaking.
I I was hoping he was gonna at least take out one of them, but I guess the point was to show how powerful they are, and they just didn't have to do him like that. Like I mean, they did show him being a huge, like powerful guy taking out stormtroopers like they were nothing, but it was kind of sad seeing how quickly he was taken out by those guys. And that's
No, but I thought that was it was great because I mean he took out they showed how strong his armor was. He took out he took out a whole platoon of
oh
stormtroopers
yeah,
on his own,
single handedly.
and then the Praetorian Guard come in and just completely kick his ass.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
but it
I
also
mean,
went through
granted,
his
he was
armor.
exhausted because he was getting he was fighting all those other stormtroopers, but then like the swords, like you said, they
When,
broke through his armor.
I think that was the biggest thing for me. It wasn't so much the fact that he was out of juice because he did do a lot. I am not questioning that whatsoever. And any person, creature, whatever you want to call it, would have had difficulty after that. That being said, it was his armor that gave out really more than him, in my personal opinion. And that was the scary part of the whole thing
Yep.
because it's supposed to be able to block, like bounce off. Excuse me, bounce off lightsaber blasts. I mean, hits to a certain degree. Obviously, it heats up and
Yep.
everything else. It's not impervious to it, but it's resistant. And they just went doop doop and like just started poking holes in them. Not fun. And that was how the episode ended. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a little PO'd about it, mostly due to the fact of the way it ended because I wanted more. And they
Oh, I
didn't.
know.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It was like they did such a great job where it was like, no.
That for me that was the best episode of the season.
Yes, I,
Hmm.
I yes, I agree with you. That being said, I do think that the best fighting was this last episode. Like the fighting, like the fight
Yep.
scenes were the
Hmm.
best in the final episode. But I do agree with you overall that seventh episode was the best.
Hmm.
Mostly because the seventh episode was packed with everything. Like it literally just like we had the Empire, we got to see things that are getting ready for the First Order. I mean, just like everything, and
We yeah, like you said, they saw everything. We saw the Empire being sneaky, trying to see how they still plot things. We saw the Mandalorians exploring their homeworld, being the spies that they are. We got to see a little bit of Mandalorians fighting, which again we've never seen that in live action. So the fact that we get to see it so much in this season was great. We got to see their tactics and how they work together and whatnot. We saw the strength of their armor versus the Stormtrooper Beskar alloy, which is weaker than the Mandalorian Beskar armor. Um,
well, and I'm assuming that the reason for that is because they needed a lot of it, and they're not going to use all Veskar on stormtroopers. Let's be honest. If
well,
anything,
no, it was Beskar armor. It just wasn't. It wasn't.
pure.
They welded it down more, so it wasn't as strong as the Mandalorians.
No, I understand what you're saying, but what I'm getting at is it's because they wanted to mass produce it. They wanted to
Oh
have
yeah.
a powerful. That it's a money thing, because it's the Empire. It's always a money thing. I mean, let's be honest. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
That being said, then the next episode happens, and literally Armageddon happens. I mean, the amount of fighting that happens. I mean, blows my mind. I mean, I know I'm going to be missing stuff by talking about this, but like we have one guy going up to go tell everyone that hey, Moff Gideon's going to blow up the ship, so you guys better escape. And then we just have everyone who's able to fight come down, and that being the armorer as one of them. And I know it shouldn't be like the main talking point, but like again, didn't have a blaster. Like
Yeah.
how many times are we going to see this person come in, taking people out with no blaster? I mean, clearly she doesn't need it, clearly, but I mean, so they team up with Bo-Katan and that, and they start going after the stormtroopers, and everyone's taking out everybody. Bo-Katan's got a dark saber slicing out stormtroopers like it's I don't know, cheese. I don't know, whatever you slice things with. Let's be honest. I mean, she's cutting it like butter. And then we just have everyone else just taking people out. We have the armorer just knocking people out with their hammer. Just doom, doom. People being blasted all over the place. She's just coming in with a hammer and whatever the other thing is, just taking them out and swing after swing after swing. And then we have what I think is the greatest thing of all, and it's Grogu saving Din Djarin. Let's be
Yep.
honest. We all wanted it. We all got it. It was great. So Din Djarin
No,
escapes.
no, no, no.
No, 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 no. And then they escape isn't the right word. He evades his capture and then starts to hunt down Moff Gideon. And I think what was awesome is they get there, and I mean, Din Djarin is taking out people like it's nothing, and with no weapons in the beginning. I mean, he has nothing but his wits, and he just takes them out. And once he makes a kill, he takes their weapon, and then just goes to town. I mean, true, like bounty hunter way. Like I mean, taking them out like they're nothing.
Again,
And
shows just how good and tactical the Mandalorians are.
but him specifically, like yes,
Oh yeah.
Mandalorians in general, but him specifically, we get to see his full prowess here because we didn't really have much to compare it to, meaning like we Mandalorian wise, like where he stands in the Mandalorian spectrum here. We see he's on the very high end, more so than I think we ever truly knew. I think we assumed, but I don't think we actually got to see it until this season for sure. And I mean, once he gets up to Moff Gideon, and Moff Gideon like really just handling him like it's easy, like just slapping him around, quite literally. Um, and then Grogu getting attacked by the guards. That
No,
was
Moff Gideon doesn't. At that point, Moff Gideon doesn't fight Mando. He has the guards come in, and the guards are beating on Mando, and Grogu comes in to save save Mando by distracting the guards, and the guards go chasing after him.
no, I know, but again, semantics. Um,
Hey, you're jumping around.
I am because there's a lot to discuss.
You're jumping around like Grogu was.
Actually, we also forgot to talk about the clones when they
Yes. Yep.
went to go after Moff Gideon. We actually got to see all these clones of Moff Gideon, um, which we'll get into a little bit later after we talk about the episode. So they blow him up, or it looks like they blow him all up. But anyway, once they get there, Grogu's facing the guards, and Din Djarin is going after Moff Gideon. But Moff Gideon does wipe the floor with him. I mean,
Oh, he does. He
I
does.
mean, it shows how powerful his particular armor is because I would imagine he made his stronger than the others. Let's be honest,
Oh yeah.
for obvious reasons. And he's just smacking him around like he's nothing. And then I and that's when Bo-Katan comes in with the dark saber and they start fighting. And that's when Din Djarin goes to save Grogu. And Grogu pretty much held his own, I think. Granted, he was evading more than anything else, but he was making him dance. I just
Oh
think
yeah.
I do have to say this. Nothing like people are gonna hate me on this. Grogu not the smartest, um, in my personal opinion. I know he's still a child, but like he's not battle tactic yet, and I think he'll learn that as time goes
No.
on. But without the battle knowledge, he did a really good job in my opinion. Even
He
before
knows
getting
him.
the help of Din Djarin. It wasn't until he didn't get sliced, but his walkway got sliced, and he literally gets it's the debris falls on top of him. He's like, "Ah," and he just sees the three of them go to stab him, and he's just like, "Ah," like let's just end it. I'm done. He's just like, I'm good. And that's when Din Djarin comes in, and the two of them do a good job together. They actually team up rather well together. You know, a Force and a Force user and a Mandalorian. You know, nobody will expect that, even though we've seen
Mm.
it twice so far in the entire, um, you know, universe. Um, and just seeing all of that in general, and then they take out the guards, not easily, of course, but they are able to take them out, and that's when Grogu and Din Djarin go to help Bo-Katan, and Bo-Katan's really having a tough time. In fact, I think the most irritating part of Episode 8, in my personal opinion, happens around this time because time-wise is not my strong suit. Mike will remind me thousands of times, but it's when Moff Gideon grabs the dark saber and crushes it.
Oh, you didn't like that?
Uh, no. Do you not understand how depressing that is? I wanted Grogu to have the dark saber. I had a whole thing planned.
Oh,
Okay, mentally,
I
I had
forgot
it
that
planned.
was your theory. I forgot about
No.
that.
Well, now it's at least right now it's not a theory anymore. It's not going to happen.
Nope. Well,
Crushes it.
the thing about the crushing the dark saber was that now they, by the dark saber being destroyed, the curse of Mandalore has been broken, and now they can finally move on as a people. Because for generations needed the dark saber in order to rule Mandalore, and now that that's gone, they can freely do what they please.
I mean,
The
we'll see how they
Mandalorian
do.
curse is ended.
Let's wait until season 4 to know that for sure. Okay, because I have a feeling that it's not going to be that simple. Although here's the thing, I do agree with you. I feel like they're gonna be like, well, it doesn't matter now. Anybody can be leader. Like you can be leader. You can be leader. Hey, and then it just all gets screwed up. But
Well,
that
when you
being
put it
said,
like that.
well, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, because let's be honest, they are all self-centered.
Yeah, they all want power, just like every other
Exactly.
people.
Agreed. But my point I'm making is I feel like there's going to be a power struggle after this. But I think there might be actually a break because it was because of Bo-Katan's leadership that they were able to do what they did.
Mhm.
Anyway, there was a 3v1 battle. It was basically a Mario Party battle. And not gonna lie, Moff Gideon was holding his own. I give that armor a lot of credit because that armor did a lot for him. Um,
Those enhancements.
yeah, yeah. In fact, I think he would have actually won that battle um, if he had kept his spear in his hand at the entire time. It was,
And if the ship didn't crash.
debatable. I don't think he's dead. We'll get to that in a minute. Um, but anyway, I feel like he would have been able to beat the three of them. But that being said, it was because of they were able to disarm him, and then Grogu was able to move the spear away completely, and that's how they basically won. That being said, they really didn't win. It was more of the ship coming down and crushing him. I will agree to that. Well, crushing into the place and
Destroyed the
huge
base.
balls of fire. And Din Djarin and Bo-Katan were going to stop it with their armor and shields. But let's be honest, it was Grogu that did all the work. He used the Force to weed the fire around them so they did not get hurt. Um, and the series ends with, or series, season ends, sorry, with the fact of we see the machine gun user, I'm forgetting his name already, son, being
As
inducted into the,
oh yeah,
the Mandalorians. And then we have Grogu being added as well, being added as Din Grogu.
which
Um,
confused me.
I know. I don't know. I didn't know Din was his last name or his family name.
Yeah, I was expecting. I thought Din was his first name and Jaren was his family name, but
I know. No, I agree with you. But apparently that's not how it works in in Mandalore. Mandalore. So
for that one particular warrior.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Wait, does that mean Boca Tan is Boca, like her family name is Boca, and Tan is her first name?
I don't. I don't know. I don't know. Well,
Anyway, we will
because
cross that bridge at some point, but not tonight. Uh,
because it's her Bo-Katan Kryze.
oh,
Kryze is the clan name.
whatever. Maybe it's a Night
It's
Watch thing. I don't know.
confusing.
It is very confusing. Star Wars things are weird. Um, the other thing too is so then we also see him get back to the first planet and gets his little piece of land with Grogu.
Yep.
And then he goes to the New Republic and talks to the pilot that's been helping him out, and basically be like, I'm gonna be a bounty hunter." It's like we can't afford that. Well, and it's not allowed. It's illegal. That's why you're not gonna tell people. But I'll still do the work for you. And
Protect the Republic without
yeah,
without your
and all
knowledge.
and all to teach Dingoru how to be a bounty hunter, and that's how the season ends. And okay, so big things here. So you already talked about the dark saber and that piece, but do you know where the crystal goes of the dark saber?
The crystal?
Hmm.
I assumed it got destroyed with the base.
There is thought that it will be Snook's necklace, part of Snook's necklace.
Snoke.
Snoke, whatever. The failed Palpatine, basically the Jar Jar Binks of the goddamn sequel series. Okay,
Not even close. Jar Jar was likable.
I
um,
mean that's valid. Debatable.
depends. Depends.
It depends.
Snoke was good in episode 7, and then in episode 8 they just threw him out the window. Um, but I did not know that. I do not remember the
There's a
necklace.
thought that
So
that's what his necklace is. It's the dark crystal. What are they called?
kyber crystals.
Thank you. Um, and that's what their thought is on his necklace. The other thing is that the Moff Gideon that was fighting was not the real Moff Gideon.
He was a clone.
And do you
Yep,
know why people suspect it?
because of the mustache.
Is 100%. As stupid as that is, it makes so much sense at the same time. So the idea that there are clearly multiple Moff Gideons, that there's no way that he's not going to be around again. So
I personally agree with the theory that that was a clone. Um, I don't. I think he was more focused on surviving. They probably. I thought that they when they broke him out that he just escaped and was the clone was his scapegoat to try to throw them off. It's tough because as much as I don't want to see Gideon go because he's such a great villain, and I feel like his uh, the what they how they used him in this season wasn't too big of a fan of it. Like, not that I wasn't a big fan of it. Like, I liked that the episodes that he was in. I just wanted more of him, and because there wasn't more of him, I was disappointed. But at the same time, the story that they told throughout this season was so good that I am perfectly happy with it being closed. And now they can move on to a new villain. Because now, moving into the Ahsoka series, they're going to be focusing on Thrawn. And that's going to tie in everything. And Thrawn is going to be the big bad villain moving forward.
no, I agree
Um,
with you. I also think too that he's still going to exist, but I think with the idea of the clone things, he's going to be watered down. And I think what I mean by that is he's not going to be the big bad that we know him as anymore. And granted, it could be just because Grand Admiral Thrawn is now in power, but I think he's just not going to mean as much. He's still going to be around, and he's still going to be a menacing being to be a part of. But I agree with you. I don't think he's going to be the big piece there.
See,
Also,
the problem with that is which I've been seeing online, and I 100% agree with it. He had such a great ending that if you bring him back, it'll ruin it, and it won't be the death won't be as meaningful anymore. You know, there's so many times where people have been killed and they come back that it just what is the point of death then if every character comes back from death?
No,
If they
that's
keep
fair.
finding these loopholes, you're gonna ruin the character's ending by continuously bringing them back.
Well, all right. So here's my question: is it the same character if it's a clone?
Still, if he has all his memories and he's has the same goals, I will 100% say it is.
Because I have a feeling that there's got to be some more of his clones somewhere, and I feel like it's Emperor property. The Empire's property, and I feel like we're going to see that potentially, even if it's just to see like the dead body of his clone to be like extracted or something. We're going to see him in some sort of capacity as his clones. Where I don't think that would ruin it too much. I do agree with you that if they bring him back full fledged, it is not going to be good because you're absolutely right. He basically ended in the best way he could, but I think they also gave him a way of like sort of escaping out of it a little bit with the
Yeah,
clones. But
no,
we'll
I
have to
mean
see.
it could go both ways. It's just like I said, the hearing everyone talk online about how you're ruining the idea of death in Star Wars by bringing every character back. It it makes it tough, and after hearing it, it just really makes sense, especially with how well they ended season three.
I agree. No, and I
Um,
agree with you. And I'm just stating that it wouldn't be surprising, and I don't think it would necessarily ruin it if a clone of Moff Gideon existed.
if
In
they
my
do it,
perspective,
if they
it
do it
depends on
like
how they
how
do it.
yeah, if they do it like how you said, where like it's just like a cut of a dead Gideon, or like it just like they're going after a bounty or something, and it turns out to be Gideon kind of thing, and it's just oh, we're just cleaning up the leftover clones kind of thing, just like a throwaway kind of thing.
Yeah,
Whereas if they just bring him back and he's the full villain again, it kind of just ruins his character arc.
agreed. Agreed. No, no, I actually agree with you. But yeah, so as of right now, there's nothing for Star Wars coming out until August. So we're gonna have to.
Well, there's Jedi Survivor, but I haven't had time to
Correct,
play
but
it.
what I'm getting at is there's only gonna be so much content for that.
Yep.
Um,
Well,
so that being said, we are going to have to try to come up with some games and stuff to add into our Star Wars thing. But let us move
I
on.
I might make you do something you're not gonna like.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the next thing, and before he makes me commit to something that I will regret.
Oh,
Um,
you're gonna regret it. You're gonna
what
do a
is it?
lot of
Hurry up!
reading.
Hurry up!
You're gonna do a
What?
lot of reading. You're gonna read the Thrawn books.
Fine. All right.
There's
um,
9 of them.
I hate you so much. All right, we are.
I'm on the last book, so
I hate Mike. Um, so we'll see how that turns out. But for right now, let us move on. Apparently, we know what Mike is going to be making Scott do. So let us move on to the other thing that Mike has made Scott do, and that is in DC. Let us talk. Do you want to talk about the movie or the comic first? Because I think they were actually very similar. They were more similar than I was expecting.
I mean they were basically so okay. So the flash the Flashpoint concept. Barry Allen wakes up at his work office. He
I'm reenacting. Go on.
Jesus. He wakes up in his office. Um, tries
Office
to
is, office is a strong word. Cubicle.
desk whatever
Computer.
work. He wakes up at work. Um,
Worst way to wake up.
realizes some realizes something is off by the way his coworkers and his boss are talking about everything happening in the world. He tries to run, cannot run, or yeah, he cannot run. He does not have his super speed. As he's trying to run, he ends up tripping out of his work building, face face first, looks up, sees his mom. His mom's supposed to be dead. He's confused. She is because she doesn't know why he's confused. And he realizes that he is in a different timeline. realizes that everything that he knows is completely erased and everything is completely different.
But he doesn't know how it happened yet.
He has
That's
no
the
idea
key.
how it happens. So he's going. He figures if there's one person that's going to know what's going on, it's going to be Batman. Goes to find Batman.
Isn't that always the
Batman.
case, though? It's like, I got a
Batman
problem.
knows
Let me go talk
everything.
to Batman.
Yeah, let's go find Batman. Batman knows everything. As apparently, even though he's a mass murderer in this universe, he, even the heroes want him to be their savior, even though he's going to kill them.
I that was a weird thing for me. I was very
so
confused by that.
so Barry goes finds Batman. Batman doesn't know who he is. Never heard of the Flash. No one. Oh, so no one knows who the Flash is because the Flash does not exist in this universe.
A
Go
lot of
goes
characters
to
don't exist in this universe,
a lot of characters do
or
not,
at
and
least
they're very
superhero. The
different.
characters exist, but their superhero alter ego might
Personas.
not exist. Yeah,
So they go to the universe. They go to he goes to the Batcave, goes to Bruce Wayne Manor,
and Bruce
calls
is
out
there.
Bruce, calls out Bruce, looking for Bruce. Bruce he ends up getting attacked by Batman. Turns out Bruce died when he was a kid at crime alley, and Thomas survived. The death
So
of
did Martha.
Bruce ended up turning uh, Thomas's wife Martha into the Joker.
Which is
Uh,
the first off, I just have to say this, okay? That scene in the movie freaked me out more than it should have. They did a such like all right, so I did know that Martha was a version of the Joker, but I think what freaked me out was the blood that
mm-hmm.
made it look like the smile just was horrendous.
Oh yeah, no, they did that good. They did
They
that good.
such a good job.
So as Barry's talking with Thomas, they're figuring out what they're gonna do. Barry tries to get his power ring to show Thomas Wayne that he's not crazy, that the Flash is real. Goes to use his ring to get his suit out, and it is a yellow suit instead of a red suit. Barry realizes that Thon, Thon, Dawn reset the timeline, did
So
something to
you could
change
just
history.
you could have named him so many different things, but I appreciate it.
Listen, fine, Reverse Flash. How's
Well,
that?
I mean that's what I would have done only because I'm horrible at names.
The problem is that both things names are literally like one letter off.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
um, learns that Dawn reset the time, did something to reset the timeline, change history. Aquaman and Wonder Woman are fighting each other, and this war between each other is literally going to destroy the planet.
Yeah, you
Um,
forget how that war started because it wasn't
the war,
all war.
and this war started because uh, the Atlanteans and the Themyscirans were going to have a unity. They were going to unite, and as during this unity ceremony, uh, Aquaman and Wonder Woman end up boning, and Aquaman's wife finds it. The Queen.
Finds out.
I'm blanking on her name.
Mira,
Huh?
Mira.
Mara. Thank you. She sees it, confronts Wonder Woman, and tries to kill her. Wonder Woman kills her, and as a trophy, she beheads her and takes her crown.
So here's my thing on that because I want to break this down. That fight was more played out than I thought. So meaning like there was so much destruction where I don't think I registered Mira's power.
She's strong.
No, I don't think I quite realized that. Meaning like I'm thinking she had the Atlantean strength, not realizing that she's strong even compared to Atlanteans. And
Don't
she
forget, she has magic too.
well, I mean, there was clear as day that there was a lot of fight in her until she was well headless.
Mm. So now once the Flash realizes that the Reverse Flash messed with the timeline, he tries to recreate the incident that gave him his powers in the first place. The first time fails. He nearly dies. Tells Batman that he's got to try again. The second time it works. And Thomas realizes that the Flash isn't as crazy as he thinks.
And
He
clearly
still
he
thinks he's crazy, just not to the extent that he believed anymore.
Well, I think for me, I think what it did for Thomas was when he was able to go super fast, I think he registered in his mind that, oh, maybe he is fast enough to go through time and space.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he just thought he was, I mean, realistically, the way it looked as Thomas Wayne, he was enjoying watching Barry burn himself. I mean, let's be honest. As much as I love this version, it's a very weird version. And
Mm-hmm.
also, there's a piece that we're very much missing here. Did you think Yo-Yo was Harley Quinn?
Yeah, just that universe is Harley Quinn. Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
Okay. No, I just because I was like, oh, I didn't realize this Joker had a Harley Quinn, right? And then all of a sudden he's like Yo-Yo, and I was like, hmm. I mean, she is a Yo-Yo, but um,
I mean, if it makes you feel better, when I was reading the comic, I literally had her voice in my head. So
well, it sounds like she was voiced by the actress who does Harley Quinn too, which is
yes,
what really threw me off because then I was like, that Harley Quinn, and then it was like Yo-Yo, and then he throws her off the cliff. Um, and then Cyborg comes to save the day.
yep. Cyborg comes to save the day from Batman killing him.
For
Cyborg works for the government, but he is basically just a tool. He's being left out of
everything.
important government secrecies.
Personally, I think
Um,
everything. I mean, let's be honest. He literally is their weapon. He was given the thought that he was part of their national security, which I guess you could say he
and they
still
just use
was.
him as they need him.
Well, he's a weapon. That's all. Like
Yep,
he's government property in their mind.
100%.
Um,
So now Cyborg is trying to get a team together, but they won't. The superheroes will not join the team unless Batman is part of the team because he's the best tactician in on the planet.
all right, can we
Uh,
unpack that for a minute? Like, I'm not arguing that Batman isn't a great tactician. What I'm getting at is the heroes wanted a serial killer.
yep,
Um,
legend, myth.
yeah, but I mean, like, I understand it's a war and people are gonna die, but I I don't know. I don't know. I just the killing part. It's I'm not surprised that he's doing it, Thomas Wayne. It's more the fact that they were just like gun ho, like no, you yeah, kill who you need to, like just shoot them all, just do what you need to. We just want you on our team because we'll win.
Everyone
Um,
idolized him.
yeah, it's just like the fact that Batman is considered so great in a world where he's a murderer really throws me off.
Hmm.
I think that's one of the things that bothered me the most out of that whole thing. Um,
Yep.
and then
No, yeah, no. I mean, it was very weird. Don't get me wrong. It was very weird. I am not arguing that.
um, and
They,
then and then the other thing too is, I mean, just as because we'll go into this in more detail, but the basic thing of that was the same as well was the fact that it wasn't um, the Reverse Flash; it was the Flash himself. What he
yep,
did was he went back in time to stop to save his mother, and all hell broke loose.
yeah.
Um,
I was trying to get through the timeline before
I
I
know.
got
I'm
to that.
sorry. I'm very impatient. Um,
I could tell that because you were jumping in every time.
100%. I am 100%.
Cyborg Batman finally gets convinced that the Flash is true. He can go back in time because he can potentially make help Bruce live. That
That
was
was the
his
big
whole
thing.
goal. Yep, that's what turned Batman into helping them. They Barry tells Batman and Cyborg that there's one person on the planet that can end this, and it is Superman. Superman is locked up. When Superman came to the planet in this universe, instead of landing in Kansas and being found by the Kents, he crashes into Metropolis and destroys the city. Um, The
Well,
government captures him,
it's
does tests.
insinuated. It's insinuated that he, like the entire city was leveled. Correct.
I don't think it was the entire city.
But anyway, it was tough to figure out for sure. But anyway, he crash landed and made big boom.
When, um, yeah, we'll go into that. Um, but yes, he destroyed the city. How much of it to be determined, but the government experiments on him, keeps him in the red sun, under a red sun, so his powers are limited.
Which,
Um,
how do they know that is my thing. Like that was the thing that threw me off. I mean, I'm
I mean,
assuming that they had to do
years of
tests on him.
experimenting.
Yeah, but I mean, like he had. I mean, obviously they kept him out of the sunlight. I guess maybe that helped out significantly. I don't know. I just in my mind, I'm like, I'm picturing like how in the hell did they keep him captured to figure out his weaknesses? You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
I might be thinking too much into it, but I was just kind of confused. But then again, they also had Lex Luthor on the payroll, so that's always helpful too.
Yep. Lex Luthor and Deathstroke were working together
Captain,
to go try to
Captain,
kill Captain Deathstroke. Sorry,
you had a ship.
trying to go kill the Atlanteans, or not kill.
Find their weapon.
Yep. Scout. That's the word I'm looking for.
Well, they were trying to pinpoint the location of the weapon, and
Uh, they found him. They killed him.
they killed all of them.
Um,
So the
so
difference. So to stay on this topic for just a second, the difference in this scene from the comic from the movie was that Deathstroke doesn't die.
we don't see it.
No, Deathstroke lives. Oh, you mean in the movie we don't see him die? You're right. You're right. I'm sorry, but what I'm saying is like, so he gets like impaled, and it's implied that he like was fatally wounded, and I think he sort of was, but somebody heals
Yep.
him. So sorry. Continue.
Um, so they go through. So where did I leave off now?
The
Because
ship.
we jump.
Everyone got kicked. Everyone got killed. Or we're
Yep,
assuming everyone got killed.
everyone got killed in the ship. That tells Aquaman that it is time to finish the war with the Themyscirans. They are going to invade the UK and decimate them. War comes. UK, Atlantis is invading New Themyscira, which is the UK, and they are bringing their secret weapon. The secret weapon turns out to be the Atom. No, yep, the Atom. No, what's his name? Crap.
Isn't it Captain Atom? No.
Yeah. Either. Anyways, radioactive dude. Oh my
No,
god.
I know, and that's gonna bother me now. Hold on, I'm looking it up. Keep talking.
Yep. So, they're going. They're going on to the. They're fighting. This team of superheroes come to try to fight them. They're fighting. They're holding them off. Captain Thunder wants Wonder Woman. He's fighting Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman uses the lasso of. Wonder Woman ends up breaking the spell to. Uh, End up breaking Captain Thunder down, spitting him down into the all the kids. Wonder Woman ends up killing Billy, so now they can no longer become that Captain Thunder anymore.
All right, can we talk about that for a second? Like their powers were completely different.
What do you mean?
Meaning, like, so they it took all six of them to turn into Shazam. I mean,
Yep,
Captain Thunder.
yep,
And each one of them, even though it wasn't put into the it wasn't put in the movie, but each one of them is given the power of the god of a
yep,
god.
yep. So this was kind of hinted in the first Shazam movie, where each kid had the power of a different god.
Hmm.
I know there are some iterations of Shazam where in the Captain Thunder's universe where each of them become, he needs all six of them to become Captain Thunder.
Hmm.
They change the iterations a little bit in whatever universe they're using. Um, like in the Young Justice universe, the girl, the oldest girl in the Shazam family, she ends up kind of falling to the evil side because she gets a taste of the power of the gods, and that kind of corrupts her. And as she wants her that power, she wants more and more, and like it's twisting her mind because she can't have it. But anyways, that's a different that we'll talk about that when I make you watch the Young Justice series later down the road.
Yay!
Don't act sad. This is how I'm going to get you to watch everything.
It was Captain Atom.
It was Captain Adam. Okay.
It just yeah. Sorry. It took me forever because you can't. I had the comic book series like synopsis up, and it wasn't giving me the answer, and it's because that part is different. It
Yep.
so I was like, oh, I
They
gotta
don't say what the weapon is.
correct, and I had to go to the movie synopsis
um,
to get the name.
so now once they're fighting each other, the superheroes come. They're fighting. Uh, Captain Thunder gets killed, or one of the kids get killed. Um,
It was Billy. Billy died.
Billy gets killed. Um, then like you said before, Reverse Flash ends up showing up, beating on the Flash. The Flash turns around and is like, "You did this. This is all your fault." And he said, "No, this isn't actually me this time. You did this. This is all your fault. You created this hell world, and I am loving it."
You
And
also forgot to mention that Cyborg died.
I mean, I didn't mention that anybody died yet except for Billy.
Yeah, well, that was the same time as Cyborg.
Okay, fine. Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, because it was Captain
They,
Thunder versus Wonder
Captain
Woman,
Thunder was
and then
and
it was
Cyborg was facing Aquaman. Superman tries to come and save Cyborg, but he's too late. Cyborg dies in his arms as he's looking at his
my
only friend in
friend.
the world. Um, when Superman comes and saves Cyborg, he cuts off Aquaman's arm. Aquaman realizes that what they are doing is destroying the world and it is bad. As he's realizing this, Wonder Woman comes up behind him, stabs him, kills him. Before Wonder Woman kills Aquaman, he pushes a button on his belt which unlocks the nuclear bomb that is Captain Atom that will send a nuclear tsunami wave thing.
Radioactive bomb of radiation just killing and obliterating all of existence.
Everybody. As this is going off, the Flash and Batman kills Dawn, puts a bullet in his head,
Although
or
he's
in the
not
comic
dead
book,
right away,
stabs him. Huh?
and he doesn't die right away.
He does not die right away.
Do you know what
Takes a
I'm talking
minute.
about?
What do you mean?
Oh, you haven't seen the other movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, no, he's still alive. Yeah, yeah. In Suicide
He's
Squad.
yeah, he slowly
Yeah.
is disappearing out of
Yep.
all existence. But yes, yeah. So you're absolutely right. In the comic, he stabs him. In the movie, he shoots him right in the head.
So once Dawn dies, Batman turns around and says, "Just run, run, get your speed, reset the timeline, fix this, so that way Bruce can live, and we don't have to live in a hell world." Flash runs, gets his speed. He's limping because Dawn just completely kicks his ass, and he's completely broken. So he's like his speed healing needs time to charge, and once he gets healed, he runs, able to reset the timeline, prevents himself, goes back in time to where his mother is supposed to die, prevents one of his prevents one of his versions himself from saving his mother, and everything is back to normal. All is right in the world. He saves the universe.
The multiverse.
So, what do you think? What did you think of the? And obviously, like we were talking about, kind of as I'm going through this, I'm like trying to explain everything, but realize that as I'm explaining things, some things are drastically different from the comic to the movie. They
Correct.
have the same premise, but a lot
Well,
like
overall, I mean, it was the same for the most part. Like the overarching story was the same.
yep,
I think for me, the animation, like the drawn characters, were really weird to me. Like
yeah.
Aquaman, like their faces were off. Like, especially the male faces. Other than Bruce Wayne, every male's face was, and Barry Allen, everyone's face was like it was just weird.
See, I didn't even like Bruce's face.
Well, Bruce was better in my opinion than a lot of the others. I still didn't think it was good, but I'm just saying it was better.
I thought Thomas Wayne's Batman was fine. Bruce Wayne's Batman I didn't like.
What was weird was it was when he had the cowl on, he was fine. Without it, his face looked weird, even though
Mm.
it shouldn't have been that big of a difference, but it was for some reason.
Something that I also forgot to mention in the because it was something different in the movie and the book. In the movie started before Barry even wakes up in the office. The movie starts with the Justice League showing up to stop the Flash's villains
Rogue
from blowing up the Flash Museum.
on a plot that they created on their own.
Yeah.
Turns out that it wasn't. No, I agree with that. And then excuse me, the comic book series started off right from the get go
Hmm.
of him just waking up, being like, "Wait, "There's a war going on. Wait a minute, Diana and Arthur are attacking each other. What?" Oh, and you also forgot to mention that Hal Jordan died. Um,
Yep. Which were different in the movie and the comic. In the comic, he died. They didn't say how he just died over the ocean, got attacked from
yeah, I
invisible
think it
jets.
was. I
From
think they.
invisible jets.
Yeah, in the comics, it was like vaguely like it was
They just
mentioned.
mentioned it. He got killed.
Yeah, mentioned he
And in the
died, but that
movie,
was it. In the movie, they
in the
showed it.
movie, they showed it, and he didn't get killed by the Themyscirans or by the invisible jets. He
No,
goes trying to suicide bomb into the weapon to kill Aquaman, and a giant sea serpent comes and kills him, eats him.
in a way, he kind of killed himself. But no, I agree with you. It was different on that front. Um, Also, I mean, other differences too was the fact that I felt like the Superman thing was slightly different in the comics.
It was slightly different. It was gave it more detail. Um, in the movie, Superman kills all of the guards as he's
Yeah, but
escaping.
in the comics, doesn't he just disappear right at like as soon as he gets out into the world, he like flies away?
In the comic, he
He does, doesn't he?
lasers one guy's arm off, and then he sees what he did. He gets scared and runs away.
Oh, okay, yeah, but he didn't actually kill anybody
No,
right away. Yeah, that's what I thought.
as far as I could tell.
Because I was gonna say I don't remember him killing anybody in the beginning. I mean, once he
Hmm.
comes back, oh yeah.
What else was different?
I also just didn't like the way Superman looked, but I understood it. Like he wasn't supposed to look right,
Hmm.
but I couldn't look.
It's so in the comic. I understand it's always going to be different from movies in the comic. The comic just had so much more detail and went so much more in depth, like with so much of the stuff, like the 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 superhero society that they were making had a lot more members in the comic than in the
Correct.
movie. Um,
And
in the comic,
all played an equal role for the most part in the comic.
each
I
of
mean,
them, yeah, each of them had a different role that was played. Like for example, Enchantress. Enchantress,
was the spy for the Theris Gamma. I mean,
yep,
for the Amazons.
yep.
And I thought that. So I read the comic before watching the movie, um,
I
and
did the opposite.
I know, and I really wish I had done it your way. Um, but anyway, so I think that was a huge piece missed because the Enchantress was shown in it. You know, she was shown in the movie very briefly. And I was like, oh, because I read, I was like, oh, I know she's a spy. It's gonna end badly. Da 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 da. And then we never saw her, and I was just like,
Hmm.
oh, because I feel like that would have been a huge piece because I mean it would have shown, in my opinion, more more of more of the war, I guess I would say, more of the
Hmm.
war-like aspect of it. And I think like oh, because I feel like it was more of just brute force, which I do get. It wasn't a lot of tactical stuff, in my opinion, and I think it was because of that. And again, it's a movie. You can only put so much in. I get that piece, but I don't. I feel like that wouldn't have ruined too much, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I mean, makes a huge difference because, like, in the movie,
It was like a
Wonder
huge
Woman,
hit. I mean, I'm not in the movie. In the comic, it was like a huge hit,
yeah,
emotional hit.
in the movie, Wonder Woman just like outmaneuvers Captain Thunder, puts the lasso of truth on him, and makes him uh, turn back into the kids. Whereas in the comic, Enchantress is responsible for it. Her betrayal ends up deforming Captain Thunder. I also liked in the comic that Captain Thunder was talking, whereas in the movie, the only time he talked was when he had the lasso of truth around him.
Yeah,
Gave him more
agreed.
it gave him more personality because the kids. I loved that the personality they gave the kids. The kids were like, "What do we do? How do we like? Should we do this? I'm scared." And then it gave Captain Thunder his own personality, where when they turned into him, like they were like, "Let's ask Captain Thunder what does he want to do." And when he turns into him, he's like, I have a receipt to give Wonder Woman, so we're doing this." And of course, I love the tiger.
Is that who that was?
What?
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's
Teeny Tawny or Tawny Teeny.
yeah, the literal tiger.
I literally, I was thinking of the movie because the movie was that Vixen or was that supposed to be Vixen?
No, there was no. The tiger was a tiger.
No. In the movie, because there was no tiger in the movie. Um, no, I know in the comic there was an actual tiger. What I'm talking about is in the movie when we see some of the heroes on the Amazonian side. Was one of them Vixen?
I don't think so.
She looked like Vixen. Anyway,
Might have been. I mean, they didn't really touch on who was there in the
but they
movie.
like they made it allude to like we should know them, and I was like, some
Yeah,
of them I was like, I know you,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And then others I was like, I should know you, but I feel like I'm stupid for not knowing you.
yeah. No, I don't. I don't. I'll be honest. I don't remember all of that just because I watched the
There
movie
was all right. My question is,
to
who was Aquaman's second in command? The one with like the Robin look,
the Robin look.
yeah, like the Red Robin look. He like had his face covered. He had like that weird symbol on his chest. The one that he sees dead on the ground with the arrows.
Orm.
Is that his name?
Yeah, that's his brother, Ocean Master.
Um, no, because I obviously knew Black Manta. I knew about Aqualad and Aqua. Well, they were both Aqualads, I guess you could say. Um, because one's supposed to be Arthur's son and the other one's supposed to be Black Manta's son.
yep, yep. Yeah, no, yeah, you're talking about the one with the golden helmet and the trident, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's
that's Orm.
all right. No, because
Okay,
I was like,
You were calling him Red Robin, and that's what was
well, no,
confusing me.
because no, because no, he had that Red Robin look. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like you, when I now that you know who I'm talking about, you're like, oh, I understand now.
Now I get it because I'm in my head. I'm like, "Oh, who has a red hood?"
I know. Anyway, so yeah, that was the big thing on that. I personally like the comic better.
Oh yeah. So
Um,
it's been a very long time since I've watched the movie and read the comic. So like I remember the movie. I don't remember most of the comic. So when I was reading the comic, I was it was like I was reading this for the first time. The comic was so much better, so much more in
agreed.
depth. I was
Well,
so disappointed in the movie.
you know what it did? It really painted the picture of the world. And
Hmm.
the other thing too was, it at the end of the comic, it split the world into three
Yep.
universes,
Hmm.
which sort of made sense, I guess. But but no, what I'm getting at is just the fact of like, I think it just went into more depth where the movie was kind of just like here's our concept, and I think what it did was it made the next movies better. You know what I'm talking about? Like the movies that it created after better,
Oh
but
yeah,
the movie itself was not that great.
yeah. No, the movie, like you said, like I said, I was disappointed in the movie. Probably give the movie like a 5 out of 10. The comic, the comic, I would probably give it like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I love the comic. I love the concept of the Flashpoint. I know it's got some loopholes, like you were talking about with Superman and whatnot, but
Well, it does and it doesn't at the same time. Um, I mean, it's one of those things where it's tough to. The comic definitely goes into more detail for sure, and I think there were less questions I had in the comic than I did in the movie. The movie had
oh
a
yeah,
lot more questions than the comic. I think the comic I had less questions personally, and like most of the questions I had would have been answered if I had read the corresponding comics with it, like Flashpoint Batman and you know what I
oh
mean?
yeah,
Like
yep,
if I would have done that, I think I would have known more of what
yeah.
was like I would have gotten
We
most of
can
my answers.
we can read the Flashpoint series after this after as well, so we can always go into that as well.
Just for everyone who's listening, what's the next two movies we have to watch? Because you said there were going to be two.
We're gonna watch the uh, Death of Superman, and we're gonna watch the Reign of the Superman.
Okay, so Death of Superman and the Reign of Superman.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be
As I was thinking about this, probably should have just had saved this for like the podcast before the Flash movie because this is literally the Flash movie. But
I don't think
it
so.
is what it is.
I think it works out either way. All right, so that's going to be what we're going to be doing in the next episode for DC. But let us move on to Marvel. What we're going to be talking about first are the three big things that are going to be coming out soon. We're going to start off with Guardians of the Galaxy 3. The big bad is the High Evolutionary. And Michael, do you know who the High Evolutionary is?
As soon as you said it, I blanked. So I'm gonna say no, even though I do.
Well, if you would have watched one of my videos on the Beastly Eel channel, you would have listened to my character spotlight, which
I
was
did
the
watch
high.
it.
You did watch it. That's even worse.
I did.
Uh,
I know. I
the High
literally, like
Evolutionary.
I said, I blanked.
So the High Evolutionary is a character that is actually of Earth. Um, he was responsible for creating Spider Woman and created humanoid animals because he wanted to evolve. Um, he wanted to evolve things beyond their potential because he could create an incredible new race of people. And as time goes on and all that stuff, he realizes that Earthlings are very insignificant. I need to make bigger stuff and better stuff. So it's unclear on exactly what the backstory is going to be for this particular character, but he clearly makes so he created Rocket Raccoon and he created the Weasel, the raccoon's friend, in their experiments, and then also created Adam Warlock. And Adam Warlock was in the comics created by using the energy of a dead cosmic being, or so it could be potentially the essence of ego being added into to create Adam Warlock. Although this is unclear because we don't know what it's going to look like in the movie, but
Hmm.
we do know for a fact he at least creates those three things, and he's trying to create a super race. And he also is just powerful on his own, very intelligent, able to and create his own society. In the comics, he created his own Earth called Counter Earth to make a better Earth. Basically, I know it's stupid, but that's exactly what it was. I can't. I as much as I would love to like beef it up, that's what it was. Um, and I'm curious at where he is, whether he's trying to create another Earth or if he's just trying to make a better world in general. He himself has been, even though he was a basic human, he actually evolved himself. In this rendition, he's actually more human than he is in the comics.
Yep, I can tell
Even
that.
though we see a lot of machine in him, in the comics, he is like very little human left.
Hmm.
That being said, I also think that after seeing all that stuff, I think we're going to see Rocket die. Pretty much everyone die except for Mantis. I think Mantis is going to be the new lead of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, you think everyone's gonna die?
I think they're going to die.
Oh, okay. I don't think ever. I personally don't think everyone's gonna die. I don't
I
know
think
who's
Groot.
not. I feel like maybe Peter Quill's gonna end up living somehow. I have a feeling. I think the two characters that will die is gonna be Rocket and Drax. I think for sure those two are gonna die.
Agreed. Agreed. I don't think Groot can die, so I think no matter what, they're going to keep bringing him back
Yeah.
in some sort of capacity. But I feel like the rest are going. I just don't. Based on what I know about the High Evolutionary and Adam Warlock, I can't picture a world where they all live. And I know you're like, well, they don't all live. Two are going to die. I think more are going to die. Personally, I just feel like because it's supposed to be the new dawn of the new Guardians of the Galaxy because it's supposed to be a new team after this supposedly, and I feel
Yep.
like it's going to have Mantis, Adam Warlock, and the new guy with the thing now. You know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
the one that took over. What's his face's?
Yes. Um, and that's going to be the big thing. Um, I'm. Oh yes.
It completely changed. Not completely change the subject, but something that you should definitely do. I highly recommend it. You need to play the Guardians of the Galaxy video game.
I've heard it's great. I just haven't played it myself. Um,
It's so good.
No, I've heard it's good. Honestly, the only complaint I had for when it was first coming out was the fact that you could only play as Peter Quill, but apparently that was not a downside as
No,
compared to what
they made
everyone
it
else
work
was
so
doing.
well.
No, 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 what I'm getting at is it's like that. That was my only like criticism of it, but
Mm-hmm.
apparently it didn't matter. I mean, I watched a lot of it already on like Twitch and
Oh,
stuff.
so you already know most of the story then.
I don't think I know it in the correct order, but I do know of it.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Anyway, so yes, I'm definitely. I think there's going to be a lot of death, because normally in trilogies, at the end of the trilogy, there's a lot of death, but we'll see what happens. Although it didn't happen in Ant Man, so it's
Didn't
weird.
happen in Ant Man. Didn't happen in Iron Man. Didn't happen in Thor. Actually, no. Thor there was a lot.
I was going to say, simmer down. Thor had a lot. Thor had a lot.
Infinity War there was a lot.
Captain America was mostly just crippling people. Um, all right,
Yeah.
but you get my point I'm making. Anyway, Spider Man.
50-50.
Actually, Spider Man had it the worst, to be honest with you.
That one just hits you in the feels.
Not even just the death, the fact that he no longer exists. Just like,
Yeah. There was one.
um,
There was Spider Man. There was one big death, and he got erased.
yeah, yeah, no, it was awful. Well, no, no, the movie was phenomenal, but I meant it was just an awful thing that happened to him.
Oh my
So that,
heart! I still can't watch it.
yeah, I actually haven't seen it since, to be honest with you.
No.
Um, and then, so that's what we're thinking for Guardians of the Galaxy. That comes out next week or this Friday. So very much looking forward to that. Then we have the Secret Invasion. So what did you think of the trailer, Michael?
I
'Cause I
thought it
know
was
you
good.
watched it right before it.
Yep. I need a refresher because it's been a while.
Sorry, I did the
Um.
same thing.
So the only question I have for it is, what happened to Fury? Because the last we saw him, if I remember correctly, he was getting called in the spaceship. He was in the spaceship getting called back to Earth from the Krulls.
Scrolls.
Skrulls. Getting called from the Skrulls that he needed to get back to Earth because it's in an awful shape. They need help. They can't handle it without him. I don't remember what movie this was.
It was no, Far From Home.
Far from okay, yep. So he's getting called from in that movie. So what happened to him that he's so worn down that in when he was in Far From Home he looked fine, and now coming back in Secret Invasion, it's like really worn down and beat up, and looks like he's not doing too well. So like,
Well,
what happened?
I think it's just one, age finally catching up to him, but two, I think it's the fact that we also don't know how long it took him to get back to Earth. That's one of the big
Okay.
things that I think we're forgetting. That yes, we've seen travel in a very fast way, but we've also know that like there are certain places that do take longer to get to, and it could have taken him a while to get back to Earth. And I would assume that why they called him there was because of the secret invasion. A faction of the Skrulls have come in to take over planet Earth, and led by the leader. And I do not how to know. I am not even going to try to pronounce this name because it is KL, comma, no, not comma, apostrophe, um, RT. Whoops, hold on, I lost it for a second. KL apostrophe RT. I was right. Um, and he
Kurt.
is, I'm sure. So he's actually a modified scroll, and he actually takes over and is given the powers of the Fantastic Four, which is a huge segue because, and the reason why I say that is because the rumor for the Fantastic Four movie is that the Fantastic Four existed in the '60s. Time travel back in time
I
to
heard that.
stop Kang variant um, from taking over Egypt. And when they come back to the wrong time and actually make it to the 21st century. I mean, they make it to 2020, whatever year they land in 2027, 2025, whatever. And so it would be interesting to see how that happens because obviously their powers already existed, which would explain why the Super Scroll actually has their abilities.
Hmm.
Um, so what happens in the comics varies at times, but one of the main ones is he's given an experiment that is very similar to how the Fantastic Four got their powers, and he's then given all four of their powers. And
Okay.
in some renditions, he's had to like get a laser blast every once in a while to keep his powers up. Other times, he keeps it permanently, and he's able to use all four powers at the same time.
Oh. So
Yes,
now when he has the thing's powers, does he like turn into a giant rock or is it just strength?
just parts of whenever he wants.
I don't like that.
He can so in some renditions of the thing can turn into
Oh,
himself.
really?
Yeah, I mean it doesn't. Normally those storylines don't last too long,
Yeah,
um,
no, I don't like that.
but the Super Scroll is able to do so because he's able to turn those powers on and off at will. He can turn on the rocks whenever he
It
wants.
makes sense for him.
Yes, so it makes more sense for him than it does for Ben. But yeah, so we actually see him in. Are assuming it's the Super Scroll, mostly due to the fact that we see his stretching ability,
Hmm.
which is unlike any of the other scrolls. So it is clear that there's a potential of, at the very least, being some sort of mutated scroll. But very much looking forward to that. We also get to see the fact that there's going to be a huge war um, of the scrolls and the humans. I'm very curious because they're bringing a lot of humans in it. So we have the
Hmm.
guy from Black Panther, the CIA agent. We
Yep.
have Fury, of course. We have Maria Hill, and we have War Machine,
Who's Maria Hill?
his second in command.
Oh,
Nick
right.
Fury's second in
Okay.
command.
Yep. We
Um,
have
War
you
Machine.
have yep, War Machine.
I mean, those are big names right there. And then we have the scrolls that we've already met, and then the daughter of the main scroll that we've known since 1996 or 1990, whatever. And we get to see all that, which I thought was kind of cool. I'm very I'm very confused at where the story's gonna go, like how it's gonna end. I guess the best way to put it. Mostly due to the fact where um, I don't know. I just don't know. I feel like even though I think it's only going to be 6 episodes, there's going to be a lot that's got to be jam packed in those 6 episodes because
It
they
better be.
there's supposed to be a lot that happens, or there's based on what I've seen in the trailer, there's going to be a lot, and I don't know if mentally I can handle all of that being in one episode. I'm being honest. Overall, I'm actually looking forward to it. It is going to be. I'm actually liking the way they're doing it because in the comics, it was the scrolls were just sneaking in and nobody knew that they existed. Period. In this one, the scrolls have already existed. We knew about them, and the scrolls are like, "Hey, there are other scrolls here being terrorists. Like we gotta kill them." Very interested in that. And then finally, we have the Marvels one, which I think is going to be actually hilarious.
It looks like a fun movie.
Yeah, I
Or
like the fact.
yeah,
No, it's a movie.
yep.
I'm actually looking forward to it. Because all of their powers are thought to be connected to the Tesseract. So, do you know how Miss Marvel's powers come from the Tesseract?
No.
So the thought is, and this is just a rumor, that where her people are from is actually in the universe where the Tesseract is. In the Tesseract.
So their universe is in the Tesseract.
Where her
Oh,
people
okay.
came from.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Now, again, that's a rumor. None of this is confirmed, but it would make sense because all three of them are being teleported to each other based on when they use their powers, and all
Mm-hmm.
of them are closely related to the Tesseract. Captain
Mm-hmm.
Marvel got her powers from the Tesseract. Monica got her powers from Captain Marvel, which is also gotten from the Tesseract. And then we have um, Miss Marvel, who is the abnormality in this, meaning she has not been confirmed that her powers come from the Tesseract yet. But it would make sense due to the fact of them bouncing around because the Tesseract was the Space Stone,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Makes
all
sense.
tying itself in together, which I think is incredible. And I just love how comedic it is in not a bad way, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, like I said, it looks like it's gonna be a fun movie. Doesn't look like it's gonna try to be too serious, which is
I'm
fine.
I'm also curious at where this takes place. Does this take place before Secret Invasion? Because we have Nick Fury in it, and he doesn't look disheveled. Um, I'm curious
Yep.
timeline on
Yep.
where it is. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yep.
but no matter what, it's not too far off from each other.
We just don't know when Nick Fury, the show Nick Fury, takes place. Because we know that Miss Marvel takes place after all that stuff, because in the show, they they explain everything. When it was the Miss Marvel show, they explained what was happening in the rest of the MCU about. They tied it in. I don't remember exactly how they tied it in, but I know they did. We just don't know when we just don't know when Secret Invasion is taking place in that timeline.
No, I agree. And we know that Marvel's takes place pretty much right after the Miss Marvel,
Mm-hmm.
or whenever that after credit scene was. Um, and yeah, no, I'm very curious at what they're going to do with that piece, mostly due to the fact that Nick Fury's in both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really Nick Fury? Is it a scroll? We're going to find out. We don't know. That's another possibility. Also, how do you feel about the villain of the Marvels?
I really don't know. I don't
She's an
know.
accuser of the Kree. So there are multiple accusers. Um,
Yep.
the most famous one is Ronan, obviously.
Yep.
And now she's the new one, and apparently she's strong enough to go toe to toe with, um, well, Captain Marvel.
I mean, I don't. This was such a short teaser trailer, so I can't really say like, oh, I'm like, oh, I'm look. I can't really say that. Oh, I like this character. I dislike this character. I mean, they were just giving a touch of what things are gonna be like.
No, I agree with you. I just know that there was a lot of hate from the internet, like there always is, and I was just like, why? Because I mean, we don't know anything about her, uh, and like we shouldn't yet. like,
Mm-hmm.
but anybody can be an accuser in the sense of as long as they're powerful enough. I mean, the Kree aren't going to have somebody weak be an accuser. Let's be honest. And there was more than one. Just because Ronan's dead doesn't mean they're not going to fill up the rank. Gosh, it's like it's the Empire basically. We're gonna file ranks. Get
Yeah,
up.
no, no, no. The internet is once things are over, you can't replace them.
Never, never. All right. Well, let's learn. Let's jump into my favorite game that I learned to hate. Is we decided to pick a character that we wanted to be from the MCU, but we had to take everything, all of the stuff. every bad thing that could possibly happen could happen. And Mike, why don't you start?
Oh, I'm gonna start. Oh, Jesus. All right. So, I was going through. I was trying to figure out what I could do. At first, when I was doing research, I was like, "Who is the happiest, go lucky character in the Marvel universe?" Couldn't really figure that out. Like, could not for the life of me figure out who had a decent life backstory. Then I started looking at power wise, what I wanted out of someone who had powers. I was like, what would be cool? I was like, huh. First thing I'm thinking is MCU. Hulk. Do I want to be the Hulk? No. I don't want to be able to not control my anger and then just become an uncontrollable monster.
Oh, you mean
I don't.
you don't want to be angry all the time?
I'm always angry.
Exactly. So it's perfect.
Spider Man. Spider Man is a go lucky kid, but he has a drastic backstory, and I wouldn't don't really want to be able to go through that. Captain
Parents dead,
America.
aunt and uncle dead.
Yep. Captain America doesn't really have, in actuality, like out of the MCU, his backstory is probably the least tragic in the terms of no. Like he doesn't have. He got frozen in time, so everyone that he cared about is gone, but they were able to live their lives.
Oh, Bucky.
Okay, Bucky's the one guy.
All
Am I?
right. No, that
Bucky's the one guy that did not. But in he okay, Captain America when he woke up in time, he
he thought everyone had lived their life.
he thought everyone lived their life. Turns out Bucky didn't. But then he still had his friend with him, so he didn't lose him in the sense of everyone else. Whereas like Spider-Man lost his family. Spider-Man literally lost everybody. But
That is a huge culture shift, though. Like that, you were
that's what I'm saying. Like I wouldn't be able to handle a culture shift. Like that's a big culture shift. You wake up 70 years later, and your entire life is changed.
and the world has changed. Like it's completely different.
Um, I wasn't trying to say like like it wasn't real. Like obviously that's a significant thing. I wasn't trying to say like he didn't have tragedy. It was just like
I think it was more of a personal tragedy than it was a tragedy in his life. In the
yeah.
sense of like he lost everything, but like he lost it. Like nobody else. Like yeah, they lost Cap, like they lost Steve Rogers, but like they got to live a life. He
hmm
woke up and was like, oh, like
Yeah.
all this stuff happened.
Then I started looking at other comics and characters and movies, and I think I decided to end on. I went with Mr. Fantastic. Did you choose Mr. Fantastic?
No, I didn't because I'm not an idiot.
Oh,
But continue.
I'm not an idiot. Okay.
I'm curious.
Well,
No, I want to know why. Why did you pick him?
I went with him because I I huh?
You know what? The more I think about it, I get it. All right.
I went with him just because I wanted the idea of the mind. I wanted the idea of being able to say because if he's the smartest man on the planet, I
You are a
wanted him.
narcissist.
What?
You want a council of yourself. You want all the multiverse versions of you to meet together and be like, "Hey, look what I did," and be like, "Nah, I did the same thing but better." No, I did it better. That's what I picture in your head. And you know what's funny? It actually fits perfectly for your personality. Continue.
When you're putting it like that, sure. I just want to be able to like his powers are unique.
Agreed.
He has a team of friends that he worked with, that he grew up with, not grew up with, but he had a
Well, he
team
kind of
of
grew up with
friends.
them.
Some of them grew up with. Like when I'm thinking of grew up with, I'm not thinking of like because he met them in college, correct?
I think Ben was the only one he didn't meet in college. He met before. I think he met
Okay.
Sue, and then the only reason why he met Johnny was because of Sue, for obvious
Yes.
reasons.
So, all right, yeah, I'll say grow up with him. But like he has lifelong friends. They went through tragedies in the sense of like they struggled with their powers at first, but he had his friends to back him up. He met his lifelong rival in college, but um, that obviously is a back and forth that he has to deal with his family and friends and other colleagues, super colleagues and whatnot. But the reason why I went with him was just because
Yeah.
being so smart, I think it would be interesting to experience and go through life with the mind that he has. Not in the sense of narcissism that I want to be the smartest man alive, but just like what would that be like? Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, let's address the elephant in the room. Well, what's hilarious is I know you had no idea or didn't think of the Council of Reed Richards,
I didn't think of that.
but I did for obvious reasons, and I find
Obviously,
that to be hilarious. But also at the same time, he has the least tragic backstory. I mean, he's lost Sue a couple of times, but like personally, not actual like death wise.
when I was looking at the characters, I when I started going through powers, my thought was who is smart because I wanted to experience like these super beings that are so smart that they could think through all these problems that normal people cannot.
Hmm.
And the first three that popped into my head was, or okay, four people that popped into my head was Bruce Banner, Hulk, Artie Nixon, Professor Xavier, Iron Man, and Mr. Fantastic.
And out of
I
those
nixed.
four, I would have chosen Mr. Fantastic as well.
I was my last two was Professor X and Mr. Fantastic.
Oh, that's actually funny because out of those four, I would have actually went with either Reed Richards or Tony Stark.
I thought about that, but I'm like, I
I
don't
have
know.
I have the liver to be Tony Stark.
Yes, you have the liver to be Tony Stark. Then yes.
I'm gonna be honest. I know I, it's true.
But um, yeah, that was the reason why. I just rather I wanted the the least tragic backstory was a big factor.
Hmm.
But obviously,
Which is
like
tough to find, FYI.
yes, and then obviously in the back of my head, knowing that the supposed descendant of him is one of the worst conquerors in the multiverse, I'm like, that's obviously in the back of my head, but
Yeah, but that also took like 1,000 years.
doesn't affect me.
Correct. I mean, it does
Uh,
because he comes back and tries to kill you, but that's a whole nother story. No, that's fine. All right, so you want to hear mine?
so what? Obviously, you changed your mind, but why was I an idiot?
No, I was thinking of an idiot because I was thinking of the fact of the amount of pain you would have went through to actually be able to like go through to get those powers. But then I realized no matter what, you're gonna have to deal with something anyway. So it was
I
like,
knew that's I knew that every character I went with, no matter what,
I'm gonna
every
have something.
superhero has some kind of tragedy, whether
No,
it's
I agree.
physical or emotional. So I'm like trying to not think of that, but at the same time, every character has that and that defines them. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
So for me, I was thinking originally the same thing as you, like looking at power wise first, and so like some of the big names that come up to my head are like Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, um, Peter Parker, but I didn't want the Hulk because I didn't want to not be able to control myself.
mhm.
Um, Peter Parker, I did not want everyone dead, um, and I didn't want Tony Stark because. I, it's got to be a lonely world being so smart because you have nobody else to relate to. I felt like that's part of the reason why he drank, and I was like, I don't want that. So then I started thinking about like mutants and stuff like that. So then like Deadpool's out for sure because I do not want that kind of healing factor or the fact. Granted, I'd have to have cancer as well, but the other
Mhm.
thing for me would be the fact of like knowing that I don't really exist, or like you know what I'm saying, like that would mess with me significantly. I mean, obviously it messes with him too. Wolverine didn't want Didn't want to be drilled. Didn't want like hot molten metal covering my bones because let's be honest, I know for a fact that when that thing cools, it's not going to be perfectly smooth like they make it seem in the movies, and so there's going to be like bone spurs, like metal spurs all over the place.
Ugh,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
ugh.
Exactly what I thought of. Horrible. And you know it's adamantium, so it ain't snapping easy. Um, so I thought about that and I was like, eh. So then I was just thinking of like, and then like definitely not Magneto. I do not want to go to a concentration camp.
Yeah.
Um, so I narrowed it down to two X Men, Gambit and Colossus, and those two are very different. Um, and so Gambit has the ability to make potential energy into kinetic energy, which causes what looks like explosions. And Colossus has his steel skin. Obviously, it provides him with super strength and durability and all that stuff, but overall, his mutant ability is an exoskeleton of metal skin that comes at will. It covers his hair as well. Um, I went against Gambit because he has no family. He was an orphan. Um, and not having a family really, really messes with him. Granted, he's a thief, and that part didn't bother me. Um, as much as it should have. It didn't. Um, and just seeing that, just I was against it for that reason. So I went with Colossus. Um, he doesn't have the greatest backstory, but is not horrendous. So he joins the X Men because he wants to help out. His sister is sick for a while, and it turns out that she's a mutant as well, and she's actually Magix. So I get to team up with my sister. I also have a brother who is evil, um,
Hmm.
Mikhail. He actually in the X Men Legends game was a Horseman of Apocalypse, and very powerful, very able to. I think he was more tech savvy than anything else. Not that he wasn't a mutant, but like most of his stuff was like technology based, so was able to make teleport, energy blast from technology, and just have superhuman strength. Um, but overall, I went with him because it's just like it was the least tragic, and it also had a cool power. Like I got to have a group of friends that I got to be. The only downside, in my opinion, is I'm Russian.
Some
Like
people
real,
don't see that as a downside.
I agreed, but you get my point I'm making. Like that's like, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's some sad stuff he has to deal with his relationships and stuff like that. I mean, he has a girlfriend that he can literally phase through. Um, Katie,
Hmm.
yeah, or
I
Kitty.
forgot
Sorry,
about
Kitty.
that.
Yeah, they're on again, off again relationship. Um, my personal favorite, while looking this up, they actually got into a lovers' quarrel, and he starts punching at her. Um, it's unclear if he was actually trying to hurt her, or if just because he knew she would have him get phased through him, that he was just destroying the stuff around him. But it's like he's got an anger problem too. But I think overall, I just went with him because it seemed like the most. It's not overly powerful because I'm not, in my opinion, I wouldn't be anything super special. And I know that sounds awful when I say that, but like in my mind, I would be like part of the universe, but I wouldn't be the main character, I guess you would say. And I know that
Hmm.
sounds so weird saying that, but I feel like I'd be a part of the team. Like, yes, I'd be entertaining, I'd be all that stuff, but I wouldn't, I just wouldn't be the lead because it wouldn't make sense for me. And I wouldn't want to be either. That responsibility takes its toll. And yes, I'd protect the people I care about and stuff like that, but making those drastic decisions, I don't think, not that I couldn't do it, I don't think I want to.
No, it makes sense.
And being Colossus, I wouldn't have to. Now, granted, being Gambit, I wouldn't have to either. But nobody, there would really not be that many people around to help me either. But yeah, that's why I went with Colossus. It was not easy, by the way. I was looking at a lot of people
Yep.
because at one point I was thinking about multiple man, but I was 100% against it because of what I saw in My Hero Academia. The villain named Twice, um, he had a mental breakdown because he has the same abilities and is able to make multiple copies of himself. And they started killing each other, the clones, and he was unclear on whether or not he was a clone or not.
One of those situations.
Mm.
Mm,
And I would not want that situation. Am I the real one, or am I just the one that was made?
that's the
But that's
question.
it's a messed up existence. So that's why I went with Colossus overall. All right, we ready to move on to the character spotlights?
Yep, yes, we are.
Would you like to go first, or would you want me to go first?
I went first last time, so it's your turn.
Okay, so I went with a villain of. Oops, am I on the right person? I am. So I went with a Spider-Man villain, a not well-known one. So his character, I mean his real name is Elias Wortham, Rhythm, Rhythm, but his code name is Cardiac. And
Sounds familiar.
he, yeah. So his brother died of an incurable disease, and then Elias devoted himself to medicine, and he wanted to save lives in the memory of his brother, which overall is great. Um, One of the big things was how do I put it? He was trying to make a drug that he thought was going to cure the disease that killed his brother, but he needed a lot of money. And what happened was he actually wanted to get help from Tony Stark and stuff, and they were like, not gonna happen. And he's like, what the heck? Come on, all that stuff. And they're basically like, no, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna work. It's going to cause severe problems. And what happens is he does it anyway and uses it on himself and tests it on himself. And what happens is it causes heart problems. And he actually almost dies. What he does is he actually creates a beta particle reactor, which I guess you could say is very similar to the reactor that Tony Stark has, but it's made with the beta particle. I know it sounds stupid when I say it that way, but that's what it is. And it's actually replaces his heart. So that actually is what gives him um, the ability to do what he can do with his heart. So it's actually replaced with the reactor and is able to do things that can be performed. His heart can do things, or the reactor can do things now that his heart could never do. Which is able to channel the energy for a variety of purposes, meaning use the energy that would have been used for his heart can be used for a variety of other things, operating far greater than his regular heart, and actually powers his suit that he has as well. So he has a vibranium mesh suit. His skin and muscle tissue have been grafted with a mesh composed of vibranium, which allows him to move without making a sound. It also channels his beta particles all around his body. So the suit itself provides him with superhuman strength, speed, stamina, durability, and the beta particles themselves, he can create beta particle blasts. He's able to project beta particles through either end of his specially designed staff that he carries, or creating a powerful energy blast from his chest itself. He has incredible super genius intelligence, which is why he's able to create what he was able to create. He's considered to be one of the smartest people on the planet, which I know sounds weird when I say this, but like it seems like a lot of people are one of the smartest people on the planet, and it's just always disconcerting hearing that because it sounds like everyone is. Like all these scientists are one of the smartest people on the planet. He has biotech expert. He's created all of his gadgets himself from biological cybernetics because he was an expert in biotechnics. He's also a skilled surgeon, and one of his weaknesses is his reactor. His reactor requires recharging, and because of that, um, it's literally his heart. So if that goes out, he's out, which is kind of sad. And Marvel always does like a power scale and like a power grid, so it's always out of seven. So his intelligence is a 6 out of 7. It's considered super genius. His strength is considered a 4, which is superhuman. So he's able to lift between 800 pounds to 25 tons. His speed is a 2, which is considered normal. His durability is a 4, which is regenerative. His energy projection is a 3 because it's short range. His blast can only go so far. And his fighting skills are actually a 3 because he only has some training. He's not really an expert in hand to hand combat. But overall, he's a character that I found interesting, mostly due to the fact that his name is Cardiac, due to the fact that he doesn't have a heart.
Yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting.
Um, the Spider-Man thing throws me off, though. Um, I guess he goes after technology in New York, and Spider-Man has to stop him, which is not that surprising. He's a '90s. He was created in 1990, and during that time, Spider-Man had some weird villains, and out of all of them, he's the least weird.
Um,
Um, he's also the most like Iron Man out of many of Spider-Man's villains. I mean, granted, I know he doesn't have a power suit the same way, but meaning like he has a reactor and everything else that powers his suit and all of his weapons. So he's very similar to Iron Man in that sense.
oh, okay. Interesting.
I'm just trying to think. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Nope. Nope. All right, your turn.
Okay. My character that I chose made his debut not in a comic book, but in a TV show. Debuted in a TV show that we grew up with. Appeared in 2004, made his first debut in Teen Titans. He wears a costume with a red X on it. He
Continue.
is Red X. What?
Continue. I'm very intrigued now. You've piqued my interest.
So Red X is a was created as a alternate persona for for Robin. He wanted to go after Slade. Couldn't do it with the way that he normally could. He couldn't get close to him the way he wanted because Slade was always on top of things. So he created the Red X persona to be able to get in close. The only problem was he could not tell his teammates. He could not because he knew that if they knew what he was planning, they would not react normally and possibly tip off Slade. Eventually, they find out. Slade finds out. Slade is able to put two and two together. Realizes that Robin is actually Red X. Red X. He puts that persona away, and he is not seen. I believe for it was like 2 seasons that he didn't appear. Eventually, they're going through a mission. Red X starts appearing again, except it's not Robin this time. Someone steals his suit, steals his gadgets. Huh?
His tech. He steals his
Yeah,
tech.
tech. Steals his tech, and he becomes Red X. Robin and the Teen Titans do not know who he is. No one actually knows who he is. He is a mysterious. He is a mysterious being. We do not know. For the most part, his powers are all the same as Robin. He is an expert martial artist. The suit gives him enhanced abilities. He can move a little bit faster than a normal person. He has a little bit extra strength. Obviously, he has all this tech that we know about. His shurikens and his blades and
The X weapons, really.
explosions. Huh?
The X weapons.
Yep. Basically, all the same thing as Batman and Robin, just slightly different. They're X. Um, Now, the interesting about this character was that he never actually made a comic book debut. He was a TV exclusive character up until recently. He made his comic book debut in the Future State Teen Titans comic #1 in the year 2021. Um, I'm going to be honest though, there wasn't really much else that I could find on him other than what was basically shown on the TV show. Basically the same thing where they basically, as far as I can tell from what my research, they just continued his story from the Teen Titans TV show and brought him into the comics. Whereas the same thing where he stole the suit from Robin, and he's basically just a thief that uses the suit to get away with things that similar to how he did it in the TV show.
That was always a weird thing in the show for me. Was the guy like we never knew who X was. Like we
Yeah,
knew
we
who
never
X was
actually.
in the beginning, but obviously once he gave up the suit, The fact that we had no idea who replaced him.
Yeah, we never knew who became Red X, but it was still one of those. We don't need to know every character who they really
Agreed.
are. You can always have a mysterious character, and
And he's definitely one.
he's definitely one. And the fact that he is so similar to Robin, leads people believing that he might have been Tim Drake after he
Okay.
became Robin. A lot of people think that. But yeah, I thought this was an interesting character with the fact that I didn't realize that he was only around in the TV show. I didn't realize that he wasn't a comic character
Agreed.
um, until recently. I think that would be awesome to explore his character more. Like I said, not necessarily needing to learn who he is. He could be those mysterious characters, but seeing him come up more in more spotlight would be pretty cool.
I agreed. I definitely agree. I thought he was also a great character to begin with, anyway, just for the
Yeah,
sheer fact that he was just so unique. Even though it was originally Robin, it was just so unique even after. But overall, actually a good character, Mike. I'm proud of you.
I have to redeem myself every couple of times after having the characters that are just so insignificant that they have no information on them.
Well, I mean, this one still didn't have that much information, but I think it proves a point that they created a brand new character and now it's being added into to the universe, which I think is
Yeah,
excellent.
it's
That's one
very
thing you
rare
don't.
that you find. Yeah, it's very rare that you find characters that weren't comic originals and
Correct.
they make them off a TV show, or like the other character was that's off the top of my head that did this was in Moon Knight, the Scarab. Is that her name?
So the character existed, but the way she got her powers was completely different.
Oh, I thought she was a brand new character from the MCU made her. Okay, never mind.
No, well, no. The scarab existed, because it was her father than her, but it was completely different. It wasn't like a god. It wasn't like that. So it was a little. It was
No.
definitely significantly different. But
Either way, back to it. Like, just
no, it's
very
rare. It's
rarely do you
very rare.
ever see a character come from the television or movie media to comic media.
Agreed.
Like,
No, I 100% agree with you. Like the only other person that I could think of was like Darcy from Thor. She's the only one, and granted, she wasn't a huge character, but like she kind of is now.
she's
Um,
becoming one, yeah.
yeah, I mean, she just doesn't have any powers, but she doesn't need to. She's
Hmm.
proven that. But yeah, overall, I mean, this was definitely a jam-packed couple of weeks. So we are going to be, hopefully, this will be up tomorrow, aka the 30th. Oh no, today, the 30th. So we're hoping it will be up on the 30th. If not, it will definitely be up the first, the latest. But overall, I mean, it's going to be simple. We're going to be doing something on the May 15th, as we do, and then we'll do something towards the end of the month, like always, and we'll continue this trend until the end of the year. Overall, if you like the content you see, please like and subscribe below. Other than that, this is going to be Scott and Mike signing out of the Black Eel Podcast. Have a good night.